A few evenings ago, you might have noticed that I have posted a photo of a CDP course that I was doing, where I was just sharing the connection between oral hygiene and overall health. And I just found it very fascinating, so I wanted to share something here. Our oral hygiene is super important, so the way you floss your teeth and make sure that you brush, that you use the right toothpaste is also important, because you want to keep the pH in your gums really, like in your mouth, conducive to health and so on. But in that course, I was just like really looking at things that I've actually come across before, and I was so glad to see that they have a course now, because I came across the information on oral hygiene and the cardiovascular health at that time, a few years ago, and I talked to the doctors that had no idea. I talked to dentists that had no idea, until I spoke to my dentist in Porto, who is an integrative doctor, so she's much more aware, because they do look at these things. So mainstream medicine, just like naturopathy and allopathy, sometimes they're not at the same pace. Eventually we get there, especially when we get studies, but unfortunately a lot of the things that are more holistic don't get as much studies, funding that we need, because as just a system. So without going into much details, but I found it such a good course to do and add on to what I have. And we are supposed to actually keep up our education and do at least 8 hours each year, which is nothing really. I like to do more, but I like to also find courses that I'm interested in first. However, we need to kind of have awareness about everything. And these courses are not long. Again, 8 hours for one course is not a lot. And this one wasn't even 8 hours, so I would have to do another one anyway. So it was really interesting. But I wanted to sum it up to this, because I talk about the microbiome all the time, and it just, even in this case, comes down to the microbiome. So the issues that we have with our teeth, and eventually with any other part of our bodies, comes down to the bacteria in our mouth. Our mouth, just like our gut, is populated by bacteria, which are really helpful to making sure that the pH of the mouth is correct, so to keep enamel intact and so on. But also when it comes to the gums, to make sure that the gums are actually healthy, that food particles that might start to decompose because of the bacteria don't seep into the bloodstream and then can create problems. And if there is any infection, to really pick it up straight away and see how to deal with it. So they talked about the relationship between gut and between the mouth microbiome. Well, I didn't call it microbiome, or oral hygiene, and the heart. And I think I mentioned this in one of my podcast episodes with Dr. Khan a couple of years ago. So he was aware of it, which is really good. But I found it so fascinating, and I just thought, what a great way to inspire us to actually really floss and brush properly. The other thing is, food that we consume is equally important, because obviously acidic food, hyper-processed food with a lot of refined sugars and refined flours, they change the pH of our mouth, as they change the pH of other parts of our body. But in our mouth, that's really, really important. And so the more refined food we have, and I'm not talking about refining things like oats, which you can have the growth and cook it and so on, but if you want the flakes, that's the processing. I'm not talking about this. That's still a whole food. It's healthy. Yes, it's a little bit more acidic being a grain, but it's not going to impact the microbiome negatively at all. I'm talking about really like candies and cakes and like the white sugar stuff and soda. Soda in particular, I know that a lot of the conversation focuses on sugar versus sweeteners, but actually soda is very acidic. I mean, you've probably seen online that, and this doesn't matter if it's diet or not, of diet, like Coke being put in the toilet and actually cleaning the toilet, or changing the color of coins. Like, it's very abrasive. So it does that to your enamel. So actually drinking these things is just not a good idea. Apple cider vinegar is another one. It's got health benefits, but actually if you drink it and you keep it in your mouth, it makes your enamel very, very vulnerable to breaking down and causing issues with your teeth. So either you mix it in water and have it with a straw. Actually that's the best one, and it's cheap. If you are drinking it, or you have it in salads, but also swish then your mouth with water after you finish your meal if it has apple cider vinegar, if you're drinking apple cider vinegar, and then brush your teeth within an hour. Don't brush your teeth straight away. Apparently your enamel is very soft because of the vinegar, so you can actually also damage your teeth. So that's all these things we look at, and I'm like, wow, how powerful and great to actually know these things. And and to just really get inspired to keep our oral hygiene in check. And I just find it so fascinating that because we are mostly bacteria, and we are learning now that the germ theory, in some ways, of course, is correct. Like there are pathogens that will hurt us, germs that will hurt us, like bacteria that will hurt us, but a lot of them are actually really beneficial to our health and promote wellness. So when we talk about dysbiosis, it's not just in the gut, it can be in the mouth too. We want to make sure we have a good population of healthy bacteria that actually helps us stay in check with everything in our body versus the bad bacteria. And again, the body talks, all the body parts talk to each other. The microbiome anywhere in the body, from the skin to the mouth to the gut to the vagina to everywhere you have it, they are chatter boxes. They talk to each other, they talk to all the systems in the body. So we want to keep it healthy. So please make sure that when it comes to your oral hygiene, the first thing obviously is to make sure that you clean your teeth properly. You don't want food stuck there for days and then decaying. You want to make sure that your diet is truly focused on whole foods. Also, the amount of nutrients that we get from our diet will also help our oral hygiene. And when it comes to teeth specifically, because teeth are bone, you want to make sure that you get the nutrients that support bone health. Things like manganese, magnesium, calcium, you name it, vitamin D. So I find it so nice to have these courses just as a reminder of how wonderfully built our body is. And that yes, we can go into specifics, we can do a lot of research on some things and isolate those things, but ultimately having a bird's eye view of our body and how it works really allows us to make more connections, in my opinion. That is what it does for me. I have a big picture kind of approach with everything. I feel so even with the body, that's something that helps me with the clients, not to just focus on one thing, as most doctors do, which I understand why, like you want to just tackle one thing at a time, but the health is not one thing. Health is very, very connected. You can have, and one particular thing has a ripple effect or a knock-on effect on so many other parts of our body and our health that it's just impossible to isolate, in my opinion, and my experience. So I wanted to share this, and I hope that it helps bring some light to how we can do things better. So have a great day, guys. Sorry for the shaking. I don't know why the roads, from all the rain that we had, the roads are a little bit worse than before, and we generally have good roads here in Portugal, to be fair. So yeah,